you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified of all future uploads, and check the description box below the video for important links and information. How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com, rocking the Killdozer shirt once again. This video is one that I said I would be making, or a series of videos that I plan on making in the future, starting with this one, and that is about real-world bug-out situations that can crop up that don't have to be necessarily a major, grid down, society-ending shit-hit-the-fan event. I talk a lot about how preparedness should be encompassing all these real-world events, much more so than the major, what we just normally call shit-hit-the-fan events. Although a shit-hit-the-fan can be pretty much anything depending on who you ask. Any disruption to your normal lifestyle or systems of support could qualify as a shit-hit-the-fan, but most of the time when we say that in the preparedness or prepping community, we're talking about a major grid down, possibly WROL event. But a lot of preparedness is covering events that aren't that serious but can still have a drastic effect on your day-to-day life and health and wealth and all that stuff. So I want people to really focus on these everyday type events. And one of the things specifically that I've talked about and mentioned before is bugging out and the type of situations, real world, that have happened over the past few decades and currently happening where this has been a necessity, where leaving your place has been a necessity. And, excuse me, I want to do case studies on some of these things that have actually happened where people have had to quote-unquote bug out. And I talked before on Twitter and in my past video that we all have different definitions of what bugging out actually is. And there's a lot of people who are really uptight about like what bugging out is and what their plan is and all this. So I'm just going to say it one more time, like I have in all the other videos, that for me, bugging out is a technique similar to ducking in a fight. It's not a plan. It's not a primary plan to do this particular technique necessarily. You don't go into a fight and be like, I'm going to duck if someone attacks me. Be like, well, okay. What if they're throwing an uppercut? What if they're kicking your leg? You're just going to duck no matter what the situation is? No, it's a particular technique. And it needs to be used in certain situations to protect your life, and it's nonsensical to use in other situations. So this idea of just your plan is either bugging out or bugging in, that's not the way I view the situation at all. For me, it's when the area that you're in is no longer safe and you have to leave, period. To me, that's bugging out and being prepared, to actually do that in when it's necessary. If you're just to me, there's a time element as well. So obviously, if your area is going to become unsafe and you have, in 6 months, I wouldn't necessarily consider that bugging out, although technically it could be, but it's mostly irrelevant because you just have so much time that getting prepared isn't really an issue. It's anywhere from no notice, you have to leave immediately, to possibly hours. Anything beyond, 6 hours or so, 8 hours at max, I wouldn't really consider that bugging out because you just have so much time that even if you're pretty unprepared, you're going to be able to get most of your affairs in order in a 6 to 8 hour window, most people. So for me, I'm mostly focusing on situations where people had minutes, a couple hours max, but usually minutes only, less than an hour to get out. And one such real world situation, now we've gotten past that really long intro, is very recently in the UK, there is a town called Whaley Bridge that was forced to be evacuated after extensive rainfall had started to damage a local dam, or with a dam, is deteriorating. Local rainfall is putting extra pressure on it, and it could burst at any moment and completely flood this town. So obviously the time frame depends. Nothing had actually happened yet. From the reports that I've read and the news articles that I've read on the subject, if the dam does burst, people would have only seconds to get out of there. They might not even be able to get the news it had burst before it was too late. And all the reports I've read is that when people were evacuated, they had only 15 minutes. Or, some things I've read said people had left without anything, taking any of their stuff because they weren't prepared, but they let them go back but only gave them 15 minutes to get what they needed to, pets, whatever. So I'm operating with this case study under the assumption that people had around 15 minutes to get prepared. And that's for everything, because you are leaving in about 15 minutes or so. That's all you have to get ready. The time frame is indeterminate. You have anywhere from at least several days to possibly weeks until they fix this dam and the danger has subsided. So this isn't just running off in the wilderness in a zombie apocalypse. You have to take everything you need to literally survive for days to weeks, but also to maintain some semblance of a normal life. These people probably aren't just not going to go to work for that days to weeks, unless they work in that exact area that could also be flooded. But if they work anywhere outside of that, they're still going to have to go to work. So they have to have all the normal day-to-day stuff for hygiene, for their monetary stuff, for any pets that take care of, for any sentimental or highly value items, high monetary value items that they have in their house. All that stuff you'd want to be able to take with you. And if you're a prepper or preparedness, you probably also would want to take normal bug out type situation items, just because you always want to have that with you if anything else happens while you happen to be away from your primary location. And this is a really good example of a real world situation where you might have to leave your residence in a moment's notice. And it actually happened. It's happening as we speak. And it's true that this might not be possible for this particular scenario to happen where you live if there's no dam or whatever. But it's just one example, and I'll be going over more in the future, of real world stuff that can actually happen that forces you to leave. And I saw so many comments on my past video about, like, I'm not bugging out. I'm preparing my place to stay where it is and have everything I need here. It's like, that's not what I'm talking about. When I say bugging out, I know I'm being repetitive, but when I say bugging out, I'm not talking about choosing between staying in one place and running out of the woods to survive in a shit the fan scenario. I'm talking about when wherever you are, whether you're already in the woods or not, you may still have to bug out. If there's a wildfire or something, that's bugging out. So no matter where you are or why you're there, there's situations that could arise that make you have to leave at a moment's notice because it's unsafe. And that, to me, is what I'm referencing when I say bugging out. I'm not talking about getting out of the city when you think, something's on the horizon to go live somewhere else. That's just moving or leaving because you don't have that strict time horizon. And another thing that people frequently say, which I'm going to disagree with this in most, is that you have to have somewhere automatically predetermined to go. That's smarter, and I definitely recommend it. I recommend having several, at least, directions that you can go and knowing where you would go if you have to go in that direction. But just like I mentioned with the ducking analogy, it's about avoiding the danger that's coming to the spot where you are. It's not about where you're going. Obviously, having a spot to go makes more sense. It's safer. It's just more likely to turn out well if you have a location predetermined ahead of time. But that's not always gonna work out either. So you have to be flexible. But it's about leaving where you are. That's bugging out. This place where you are is not safe anymore, and you have to leave. And this is a real world example of that. Dam burst or is about to burst. You have 15 minutes to get out of there. But everywhere else around you, the world is in a pretty normal state of affairs. So you're not just going to run out into the woods and start living off the land, even if you're capable of that, because you still have to go to work on Monday. Most of these people will. You might have kids and pets that you're going to still be taking care of in a normal way. You're not going to set them up in a tent in the woods, but you do want to take all your paperwork, important stuff that could be damaged in a massive flood if your home is leveled, anything of monetary value, because if your home is wiped out, you'll have insurance for some of that stuff maybe, but you want to be prepared to take it with you in an event like this. So stop focusing on, I've got comments from people in my last video saying, like, none of that stuff you need to survive. It's like, I never said you needed to survive. You don't need silver and gold. Oh, I dropped my gold. You don't need silver and gold to survive. But if I know my home has a high chance of getting leveled, I'm not going to want to leave this here. I'm not going to risk my life directly. That's why I'm going to prepare ahead of time to have that stuff ready to go with me in the event that the area that it's currently stored might get wiped out or severely damaged. And this is a real world example of that. If you had some cash emergency fund, which I think you should keep in your house, if you have gold and silver, if you have other expensive items, important paperwork that's hard or really annoying to replace, any sentimental photos or valuables or anything like that, that would all be gone if a dam bursts and wipes out the whole town. I mean, it might be there somewhere, but yeah, it's gone. And so why not have that set up in a way to take with you when you bug out, and not just pretend like the only reason you would ever leave your house on a moment's notice is a full-on Mad Max zombie apocalypse situation. I know this video has been a little redundant, but it seems like a lot of people really are just not picking up what I'm saying about real-world bug-out situations. Maybe I should come up with different terminology than bugging out. I don't know. But there's a lot of people of you that I know do understand, and that's who this video is for in the future videos. So this is just an interesting case study. Once again, the situation is small town in UK. The event is a dam bursting or possible bursting, so forced evacuation. Time frame is about 15 minutes to get everything you need, and the duration is unknown, days to weeks. How would you fare in that situation? If you had 15 minutes to take as much as you needed, and you're going to be gone for, let's say, 2 weeks. Are you ready to do that? I'm not proud to say probably not. I mean, I have enough to get most of the things that I would want with me probably in 15 minutes. It'd be messy, but not everything that I would want to take. So, and I've mentioned before that organization is one of my weak points. And so I need to work on that. And focusing on events like this that show you how this stuff can happen in real life is important. It helps you get prepared for things like this and gives you a specific framework for how these things happen in real life or could happen in real life. I don't think there's any risk of a dam bursting where I'm at, but there are floods here occasionally because even though it is the desert, when there's heavy rains and the ground doesn't soak in very well, there's not as many storm drains or things like that as there are in areas where it rains a lot. So there is flooding here in Vegas, and you might have to leave for something like that. There's all sorts of other events, and you've got to be ready to leave. This is a real world example. Let me know what you guys think about this, and if you've had anything similar happen in your area, or if you know of any other similar events that we can do a case study on and go over the specifics of it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Remember to check out rulethewastelandstore.com, get your Killdozer shirts, and all other cool stuff. Thanks for watching, and don't forget you can support yourself and this channel by checking out rulethewastelandstore.com, where we have an ever-increasing amount of survival and preparedness gear, including one of the best survival fishing kits on the market.